Okay, so let's go ahead and put together our little village here. Now, the team designed this, actually Ron designed this and Diana engineered it so that you can actually put it away for the season. It'll fold flat. We've added some tabs here and there so that it will stand up, but you can actually take it apart so that you can save it for the next year as well. These are going to look really cool without having to do a ton of work. So the first thing you want to do is kind of lay your pieces out. Each little house and each tree has a panel that goes on the front, and there's a piece of vellum that goes on the back. So I'm going to walk you through the process here. It's very simple. Now we have 3 trees. I'm only going to show you one tree because they all work the same way. So just make sure that you find the corresponding vellum and corresponding panels that go along with each tree. And of course, the first thing we want to do with each of these pieces before we start gluing anything is just fold everything at the score marks here, just to kind of get everything nice and prepped. Okay, we're not gonna put it together just yet, but we want to go ahead and get it prepared. And I'm going to begin by putting my vellum on. So again, actually this is not the correct piece for this one, or is it? Let me see here. No, it actually is. I just had it on the wrong way. Okay, so as you can see, that's kind of how the vellum goes on. So get a little bit of an idea of where to position the vellum. Make sure that you keep it within the little score marks. And no one's really going to see this, so just do your best to get your glue. And I'm just going to use a series of dots throughout the little tree here to get my glue on there. And you don't want big globs of glue, otherwise you risk the glue smearing out and creating a mess over the cutouts, which we don't want. So just get that on there nicely, just like that. Take a look on the other side, make sure that it looks good, and it does. And now let's find the other piece of vellum for the other side, just like that. Okay. And again, just a few dots here and there. And again, all 3 of these trees are exactly the same. They're just different sizes. So the process is going to apply to all 3 of the trees. And I can't wait to put this up on my mantle as part of my little Christmas display. Okay, so there we go. All right, now I put way too much glue down here, and as you can see what happened, I don't think you can really see it on camera, but it does kind of warp the paper. Luckily, we have a panel that's going to go over it that's nice and thick. And now with these panels, okay, the way that they're designed kind of designed so that there's a little bit of you're not centering the panel, okay? Usually when we put panels on, we center them. What we're trying to achieve here is just we want a little bit of this color popping through the various sides here. So as you can see here, you don't want it centered, you just want the green part of the tree showing up just beneath the top here. Okay, so it should look just like that. It's a very subtle thing. You can see here how the green is just below the glitter but not above. Okay, that's how you want to glue it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put glue on this piece. This is like a glitter paper. It's really thick. Okay, so it's gonna hold up nicely. Just make sure that you get glue out to the edges as well, and then do your best to. And I'm going to actually stand up a little bit here. Get it again so that you just see the green towards the bottom part of just like this. Okay, so you can see that there. You don't see any green along this edge, only up on this edge here. Okay, so it's just a little bit of hint of color showing through there. Okay, so then we're going to repeat that process on the other side. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and get my glue on this here. Okay, you can use dots if you want. I probably have a little bit too much glue in certain areas, which we don't want. We don't want it to smear out. Okay, and again, now since we already have this piece on, you can go ahead and use the other piece as kind of a guide to help us get everything nice and symmetrical. Okay, so that looks good. And just push and hold that down for a second. Make sure that stays. And we designed these to be illuminated. Okay, so that's what your final product should look like. You've got your vellum on the back. And now, you see this little tab here. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to slide it through. There's a nice little cutout here at the bottom. Okay, try not to bend this too much. Just get it in there nicely. Okay, and just pop it through. Now mine's actually behind the vellum, which we don't want. Make sure you don't get it behind the vellum. Get it in front of the vellum. Okay, and it's going to pop up just like that. Okay, and you can tape this if you want. I don't think it's necessary, but the idea is, and if I can find one here, the idea is that if you need to, when you put this on your table, if you want to put a little piece of tape on here so it doesn't fall forward, that's fine. But the idea is in this little area here, you want to put a little tea light. Okay, so this is kind of like the little tea light holder area, and that's also going to prevent this from falling forward, or it'll keep it in place basically. Okay, so there is one of the trees, and you're going to repeat that same process with these two other trees. It's exactly the same. So just to recap, I would just make sure that you've got the right pieces for each base piece. Okay, put your vellum on the back like I did. Someone might want to sandwich the vellum between this piece and this piece. If you want to do that, you can. I think that it'd probably be better to put the vellum on the back because it may be difficult for this to stick to the vellum, because this is really smooth, it has no texture, and this is also very smooth. So I'd probably recommend putting the vellum on the back and then the panel on the front instead of trying to sandwich it. And then, yeah, that's the way I recommend you do it. Okay, so go ahead and finish up the other trees, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the rest of the village. So here are my 3 gorgeous little trees. No glue for the bottom. Again, you can put a little bit of tape here if you want to. I don't think it's necessary. And then, they will stand up straight on their own, but once you get the little tea lights behind them, that will make sure that they are nice and anchored. So I'm going to put those to the side for now, and we can go ahead and begin working on the rest of the little village here, which is basically the same concept. You're really just going to put your vellum on and then follow it up with the panel, making sure that you get everything nice and folded before you begin working on it. And then just slide that little tab through to create the little base, and pretty much done. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I don't really think I need to walk you through everything, but I'm going to anyway because that's just how we roll here at Dreamin' Tree. I want to make sure that you can make everything just as we designed it. So with this piece here, again, just use dots, little dots here and there, and try to cover as much of the area you can, especially in the areas that have little cutouts like the little windows. Okay, so we'll do that. Just kind of work our way around. And it looks like we have vellum going all the way out here as well. Get some on the door, on a little wreath in the window. So much cute little detail in these pieces, and once they're illuminated, I just know they're gonna look really, really cute. And the best part of it is that it's not gonna take forever to put together a crazy 3-dimensional house, and kind of get more little buildings for all of your effort, and I just think it's gonna look really cute. So, okay, so there is our vellum. Now, I noticed here that I didn't put any glue on this little area here. So I'm just gonna make sure that I'm gonna make sure that I have everything nice and anchored and nothing's gonna come loose after I put this out for display. Okay, so get all your vellum on there. You can flip this over and let's find the corresponding piece, panel piece I should say. And here's the little tip for this one here, okay? The little circles here match up perfectly with these circles here. Now when you do that, you'll notice that in other places, things don't look centered, but that is by design. That is the look that we're going for. We want to have just a little bit of color peeking through on just certain angles. When we light it up, it's gonna give it a really cool effect that way. Just make sure that these holes here are lined up perfectly and then everything else will fall into place. Now we do have quite a bit of real estate here to glue, so you gotta kind of move quick. You don't have to get glue everywhere, but you do want to make sure that you have the majority of this thing covered so that it sticks and doesn't fall apart. If you are more comfortable using like a spray glue, you can do that. Just make sure that you get like a really good spray glue that stays. In the past, I've used some spray glues that have kind of come loose, probably because of humidity and things of that nature, things that I can't control. And I was just kind of disappointed that it didn't stay. So just make sure that you use a really strong bond spray glue to get that done. Okay, so just align those holes. That is your primary task here. And then everything else should fall into place beautifully, just like so. Okay, and this piece is basically done. So it's really simple, and it's gonna be really fun to take and line these up together. I bought some of that fake snow from Hobby Lobby. They actually have all their, well, not all their Christmas stuff. They're just starting to put Christmas stuff out. They actually have some fall stuff out already. And I saw at Joann yesterday, they also have Halloween stuff out already. So, you know, that gets me excited. Okay, so again, that's pretty much it. You can put a little piece of Scotch tape, let me get my Scotch tape out, in this little corner here, right here. Oops. You can put a little tiny bit of Scotch tape right here, just to hold that in place, and then that way when you're done, you can just rip it off. And then of course, let's pretend that this is our little candle. There you go, it's gonna hold it up nicely. If you're not illuminating it with little tea lights, you can put a little piece of tape right here to hold it upright, or actually probably in this corner would be the best. Okay, but there is your next little building. Okay, and you got your little trees, and it's just gonna look really cool, especially when you put some lights behind it. I'm thinking about using that little color changing LED light and actually creating like a sunset effect with it. I think that would be really cool. So either way, whatever you decide to do, I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. So let's just go ahead and continue here. We've got this building and then the church. That's pretty much all that's left, and we are done with this project. Okay. Oops. So get all of your little tabs folded here and put this down just to kind of get a visual as far as where you need to place glue to get your vellum in place. Okay, so pretty much have a good idea there. And again, I'm just gonna go ahead and use little dots throughout the design here, and maybe a few little lines here and there, just to kind of speed things up in certain areas. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, just as long as you get enough to hold it in place. I had a couple conversations this past week with some of you guys, and one person really loved the fact that I don't edit out my mistakes, because it makes you guys feel normal, because we all make mistakes, and that's okay. Anyone that makes a video and they don't make a mistake, they're not showing you the whole process. It's okay to make mistakes. It's still gonna come out nice. There's been so many times where I do something, whether it be in a photo or something, and no one ever really notices. You are probably your own worst critic. So I don't know what that little splotch is right there, but luckily I've got a panel to cover it up. So, and there's a little door on this part here. You don't want to glue that down because that's going to be open just a tad. Like someone left the door open and they're wasting heat. Okay, now for this one here, this one also, you can use this little hole up here as a guide, okay? You want to get that perfectly lined up. Everything else will kind of fall into place and the little shadow areas will be set for you automatically. Because again, usually when we take a panel like this, we want to center it, but that's not the case with these projects here. We wanted to kind of offset it so that the little bit of color from your base color is just peeking out from various angles, not all the way around, just to give it a little bit of interest in a different kind of way. Okay, so get your glue on there and let's glue this down again using that little hole there as our guide, our initial guide. And of course you still want to make sure that you're angling it correctly, and then just push down. And I'm off a little bit. Here we go. Perfect. Just push and hold that down until it sets. There we go. Just like that. And there's our next building. And again, I'm just going to fold this up. We're going to slide our little tab through the bottom here. Okay, I'd recommend getting a tiny little bit of Scotch tape and putting it right here on this back corner, right there. Okay, and then again, when you put your little candle on there, that will keep it nice and upright. You could tape it if you want. And there is our next little building, which leaves just one building here, and that's our church. Well, actually, there's more than just one little building left, and that's okay. So this is our next little building here. It looks like a little house. And of course, we're going to start by getting our vellum in place. Just going to go ahead and work the perimeter and then work the little details here. You can be a little more thorough if you want. Don't want to bore you with gluing. Okay, and let's get our vellum on there. Make sure that you've got all the little cutouts covered. It's going to create a nice diffused glow when we put our little tea light behind there. And that's what we're looking for. I think I know what happened there with that last one when I had that little splotch on there. I think that was just from some glue that penetrated through the cutout and ended up on the front, so be careful of that. Okay, we have our vellum on, and of course, the next step is just to put this on. And again, this hole at the top here, that you can use to help you center, and then everything else is going to be offset just to one little side. Okay, so you're not going to get this perfectly centered with these little cutouts, and that is by design. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our glue on this piece here. And this looks like Recollections brand glitter, which I believe is a Michaels brand. I really like this glitter, and it cuts really well. We cut this with the Eclipse, but I have not had a single problem cutting glitter with my Cricut. I usually set it to custom, and then I will select one of the mediums that is at least 0.5 something millimeters thick. It doesn't really matter which medium you select. As long as the thickness is correct, it'll get the pressure right. And typically, anything above 0.5, I think it's gonna do a double cut on, and like I said, it always does a really great job. So, okay, so there is our little house. And again, same process. We're gonna take and slide our little tab inside this cutout. Just to kind of get that. So again, the cool thing about this is when you're done with it for the season, you can just take this little piece of tape off and fold this all flat and stash it away nicely, and maybe even sandwich it between a book, like a nice thick book, so that it definitely doesn't warp. Okay, and there's our next little house. So that one's done. Now we're on to our little church here. And the church is made up of 2 connecting parts. So we'll just work on them individually, and then we will kind of splice them together once we're done. So let's work on the little front part of the church first. I'm going to get our vellum in place, put our panels on, then do the base structure of our church, and we can just connect them all together. It's a very simple process. Okay, so there's our first little piece of vellum. You want to go ahead and get your glue. Just kind of get it all over here. Okay, and just make sure that you get it behind this paper. Most importantly, just make sure that you're covering the windows. That's really the main objective here. Okay, oops. This glitter paper really likes to stick to my shirt. Okay, now this piece is gonna go here. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put our glue around these little cutouts here. Okay. And just make sure that you're covering up all the cutouts. We made this vellum piece obviously larger than what we need, just in case you don't get it perfect. You still have a good opportunity to cover up those pieces without having to readjust too much. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and do our little last piece here. And again, this is not gonna be facing anybody. So this part's fine. You can kind of get a little messy on here if you want to. Let out a little steam and not worry about being super meticulous. Okay, so there's that. And again, had a little bit of glue that shot out there, which is okay. All right, so now here on this church part here, we do have some little cutouts that you can fold out to mimic shingles. Okay, it just adds a little bit of interest and dimension to the piece. And we also have some doors that you can leave open slightly. Give this even more dimension. So you don't want to put glue on the door, but you do. Oh, there's one more little shingle piece up here that I missed. There we go. Okay, so let's flip this over and let's get our glue. I'm gonna use little dots on the little ends of the crosses here. Probably some dots in this smaller area. I can probably go to a line here. Dots and lines. I'll do a line here, a line here, a line there, like that. There we go. Okay, and I want to go ahead and get this on there. I would focus on the cross part up here, making sure that you got that centered and aligned. And then everything else, again, it's not going to be centered completely. The little shadows, and in this case it's in a pink, are going to be off to the left, bottom left. Okay, so that is by design, and that's how we wanted it. Okay, now I forgot to actually fold this. It's okay, it's not too late. There we go. All right, so that looks great. Now we can put these little side pieces on. Okay. And as you can see here, you kind of want to butt this up against the existing piece in the center. Make sure that you have it nice and aligned down here. And again, you'll see that the little shadow area is on the left and bottom. Okay, so you're not going to be able to center that perfectly, and that is again by design. So I'm going to go ahead and get my glue on this piece. Okay. And butt that up. Make sure that it's nice and aligned at the bottom. And glue that down. Give it a second to hold. Okay, and then we can go ahead and fold this. And it's cool too because you have a little bit of that pink color. Well, in my case, it'll be pink. In your case, it may be a different color, which is fine. You got that coming up through here as well. And that hides the score marks really nicely too with that panel. Okay, so we'll fold these tabs over. We'll get them ready to be inserted into the main part of our church. So we can put that off to the side. And here is the main part of our church. Again, same process. We've got the vellum and we've got the panel. Okay, so just kind of get an idea of where your vellum is going to go. Okay, and make sure that you kind of visualize where you need to put the glue. Okay, so you don't need any glue above these little cutouts here. So keep it below those cutouts. I'm just going to work the main part of this here before I have to get careful and work these little areas here. Just as long as you get glue around the cutout areas, the vellum's going to hold nicely. I wouldn't worry too much about anything else really. Just want to make sure that that vellum stays nice and flat around the cutout areas. Okay, that's perfect. So go ahead and lay that down. Use the slits in the center as kind of a guide because you do not want to obstruct those. And then work your eyes up near the shingles and make sure that the vellum does not encroach over the paper or past the point of the paper. Okay, so there we go. That looks great. And now I believe that with this one, you want to basically use the top part here as a guide, and then everything else, again, will kind of fall into position. Yep, that looks great. Okay, and again, actually, use the slits as a guide. That's probably a better idea because those slits, you need to be able to penetrate those slits with the main part of the church so that this thing stays together. And again, this one, since it's two parts, when we get those slits in there, we're just going to use some Scotch tape to hold it together so that eventually you can pull it apart and save it for next year. Okay, now one complaint that we hear a lot is, well, how do I store this stuff? And what if I want to use it again next year? Well, we got you all taken care of as far as that's concerned. Okay, so again, use the slits as your guide. Okay, make sure that you're not obstructing them. And everything else will fall into place. Just like that. All right. So just push and hold that down until it sets. And now you can go ahead and take this part of the church. So it's going to be flat like this, on the sides like that. And we're just going to feed the little tabs through these slits. Okay, so this may be a little difficult for me to show you on camera. Or maybe not. That's good. And then literally, just going to go ahead and take some Scotch tape, and you can fold it. Let's see, I'm probably going to fold it inward like this, and just tape that to the inside like that. And it's okay if you do this flat like this. It's probably easier to work with. And let's see. All right, this one I'm going to. Let's see. Can we fold that in? No, we're going to fold that this way. Okay, I don't think it makes a difference really. All right, so now I can go ahead and get the other two slits through. pull those through and glue, or not glue, just gonna tape so that, and actually technically, you could probably fold that flat like that for storage, but either way, however you want to do it. I think the tape method is probably safer. You don't have to worry about. Okay, so there is our pretty little church. Okay, and you can actually stick a little tea light inside there and also behind it here to illuminate the little other areas. So I would say that when I'm composing my village, and you guys will see it in the final photos and the trailers, you know, so you've got that, you've got that, you've got that, and then you've got 3 trees that you can scatter about wherever you want. And that is it for this project. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.